My worst fears are that we, the field, the technology, the industry, cause significant harm to the world. If this technology goes wrong, it can go quite wrong, and we want to be vocal about that.
OpenAI CEO Sam Altman cautioned Congress about the threat of artificial intelligence just 2 weeks ago. Now, he is one of 350 industry leaders to issue an even more dire warning, saying that if AI is left unchecked, it poses a, quote, risk of extinction. And to be clear, he is talking about human extinction, our extinction. So I want to bring in an old friend of mine, New York Times technology columnist Kevin Roose. Kevin, when we think about AI ending humanity, we picture movies about killer robots taking us down. What exactly does this mean, and how far are we from this scenario?
Well, I wish I knew how far we were from this scenario, because I could be making more progress on building my bunker. But I think the risk here that people in the AI industry and researchers are worried about is the danger that these systems could become, frankly, more intelligent than us, or capable of sort of replicating themselves, of building AI that could then build a better AI, which could build a better AI. And eventually you end up with something that is quite hard for humans to control.
But the people who are now calling for some regulation, they are the creators of this technology. Do we actually believe, do we trust that they want regulation? Because you and I both know all the big social media CEOs have sat before Congress and say, we want good and smart regulation. And then behind the scenes, they spend more money and have more lobbyists than any other industry out there.
Yeah, I mean, these companies clearly want a certain kind of regulation that will not sort of eat too deeply into their ability to make a profit using this technology. But these CEOs actually are quite genuinely worried about this technology. And this is very different than the kinds of talk that we've heard from other tech CEOs. I mean, when Facebook was in its infancy, Mark Zuckerberg was not going around warning that it might kill everyone on Earth. So this is really a different type of technology and a different type of AI risk than the ones that we are used to seeing from other technologies.
Move fast and break things. Was that his tagline? Yeah, well, he certainly did. Now, for the average person out there, Kevin, who does not understand AI, doesn't know what it is, why should this report be something everyone pays attention to? What should they do about it tomorrow?
Well, I don't think the average person can or should do much tomorrow except to start learning about these systems and maybe paying attention to what conversations are happening around it. But I think for regulators, this should be a big wake-up call. I mean, this is an industry that is asking for regulation. Sam Altman has proposed the creation of a sort of international body that could keep track of and sort of monitor AI risk. Similar to the organizations that do the same thing for example, nuclear weapons. Other ideas have been floated. Maybe you should need a license to be able to train one of these very large, very powerful AI models. So there are various proposals that are floating around. I'm not very optimistic that any regulation will actually pass, because I saw what happened with social media, where Congress held a bunch of hearings and had a bunch of angry statements and then did essentially nothing to regulate social media. But this is in the air out here in Silicon Valley. People are talking about this kind of risk. And this is very new. Just a few years ago, talking about existential risk from AI was a fringe position, and now it is something more like a mainstream position.
But is there more will on the part of Congress, on government, to do something here than there has been as it relates to social media?
I think there's will, but it's the problem is the technology is moving so fast that by the time you make regulations or pass any bills, it might be obsolete. I mean, a lot of the bills that are being, a lot of the rules for AI regulation that are being considered in, for example, the EU, are based on technology that is now a generation old, and so some of those rules no longer make much sense in a world where the AI systems have just gotten much more powerful and are doing many more things than they were just a few years ago.
There's a new report out from Goldman that says if AI lives up to its hype, 300 million jobs could be lost or diminished. Do you believe that? Because it was just a few years ago when you and I were sitting having conversations that driverless cars were the future and there were going to be no truck drivers anymore and they'd be wiped out. And here we are today with a huge truck driver shortage. Do you really think AI is going to wipe out all these jobs?
Yes. I mean, technology always destroys jobs. That's what it does. It makes certain kinds of work obsolete. The good thing is that it also introduces new kinds of jobs. And so every technological revolution from the Industrial Revolution on, we've had jobs that disappear and jobs that appear for the first time. And the question is, how big is the gap between the old jobs disappearing and the new jobs appearing? And are the people who are displaced out of those old jobs actually going to be qualified and ready for the new jobs that appear?
The latter. That's what we need to solve for. Kevin Roose, it is always good to see you. You know, it is our goal in this show to make people smarter, and you definitely did that tonight. And it's great to see you.